Hi there, it's Dr. Embody with Project 4. And in this project, we're going to be working with functions. And we're going to use Turtle Graphics to draw some flags. The idea here is that if you look at something like the Turkish flag, you see that it's a rectangle, like most flags are. And then it has a crescent and it has a star. So natural functions to have for drawing this type of flag is to have a rectangle function, a crescent function, and a star function. And then it's just a matter of positioning them to do that. One of the challenges is that we'll want a result that looks like the Turkish flag, but it need not be exact. If you think about it, if you look at the Turkish flag, there's a crescent and a star. And as long as you've got a crescent with kind of a star in roughly the right spot and oriented right, then we'd call that to be a Turkish flag. But if you had them reversed, or maybe you had the crescent pointing up, something like that, then we'd say that no, you don't have it yet. But if your star is just twisted a little wrong or something like that, we're not going to worry about that. But when you look at it, you should go, oh yeah, that looks like the Turkish flag. That's what we're after. We're experimenting with actually being able to have a test that tests whether the picture is close enough. And we hope to have that set up, and you can kind of watch for that. Just give you a little bit of better feedback if we can get that in place. So let's take a look at the project. And again, the emphasis here is on functions, and you could even see in ours how close we are or not to getting things drawn. Now, we've given you designs, and the designs actually have all the proper dimensions on there. That's really there to help you design this. If you could actually see what the measurements are, and they're all with respect to the height. This is really as an aid, as opposed to you have to get it precisely the same. So for example, if you look at the Singapore flag, that's the official design, and if you look really closely, the Singapore flag that we have is really close, but it's not quite perfect. It's a nice example. You can see that the stars are offset a little bit too high, and they aren't quite lined up right. And that's so obviously this is acceptable because we're giving you that as the model. So what are we doing here? Well, we specify some functions that you have to do, and you'll notice, for example, that the circle is one of the functions that we have to do, and yet Turtle comes with a circle function, but the circle function in Turtle only takes radius. So we add color, and we add x and y coordinates of the location, and it actually takes a number of steps to get this function to work, because you remember, if you have the turtle and the pen is down, and you move to some location, you'll get a line. So you don't want to do that. So one of the first things you do is you put the pen up, and then you go to some location. Now, I actually did mine to go to the center of the circle, just because I found that a little easier for designing, but you don't have to. But you'll notice that if you look at the circle being drawn, it starts on the edge and goes like that. So I actually went to the center, and then I went to the edge, just because I found that to be a nicer way to go. I also set the heading because, again, that gave me more consistent results. Although I guess I actually did them in the I set the heading first. So now I'm in the position to start drawing. So if I'm going to start drawing, I better put my pen down. And I found better results if I set the pen color. All right, so that was another thing I had to do. And of course, we're going to fill the circle, so I better have a fill color. And then you have to then at that point you can now begin filling. And finally, after all that, you can do your circle. And then of course you have to end the fill. So initially you may say, well, why am I asked to do a circle function when Turtle has one? And you can see that I still end up with a bunch of steps because I care about filling it with a color and I care about it being in a particular position. Now, of course, many of these have have parameters, like that's the radius in there, and things, like colors that I have, I have to give it as a parameter and so on. You got to figure out coordinates and etc. But you can see that there is a bit more to this than it might seem originally. And for the crescents, think of it as the difference between two circles. Right? So how do you draw a crescent? Well, you can draw one circle and then you can overlap with the circle, and if you do your coloring right, you end up with, you can see Dr. Anybody here is a lousy artist, but you end up with something that hopefully looks like a crescent in a particular color. So that's why you need, you've got two circles, so you need to have two centers of circles, and you need circles of different radii depending on the type of flag that you're drawing, and you got to have two colors, right? Because you need the foreground color and the background color in order to make that work. So then let me take a look at one of these flags here, and if you look at the Turkish flag, the one here in the upper right corner, you'll see that what makes up a Turkish flag. Well, there's three parts to it, right? There's a rectangle around the outside, right? And then we've got this crescent in here, and then we've got a star. So the function to draw that flag is you make a call to the rectangle, and you need to make a call to the crescent, and you need to make a call to the star. And then your task is to figure out what are the right parameters to make that happen. And you can see, like this flag over here, well, it also has a rectangle and a crescent and a star, and then it's embedded within a circle. So there's a lot of similarity, but the basic commonality amongst these flags of these Muslim countries is they tend to have crescents and stars and rectangles, and so that's why we have those functions, and then you create a program around that. And then just to give you something, you do need to have a loop which will ask you about particular flags that you might want to draw, like draw one of them, or draw all of them, or quit. And so that will be a loop, but again, it has to be a while loop because you don't know how many times it's going to be asked. And those are the main components of this project. Let me say one thing about the star. There's a couple of ways to draw a star. You may have learned how to draw a star like this. And the problem with a star like that is that when the turtle is trying to fill the polygon, it tries to determine what the polygon is that it's filling. And on many systems, it will decide that this is the polygon. So you don't really end up with a filled star. So what you want to do is actually draw a polygon like this. See, my hand artistry is not so good. Now you have a clearly defined polygon, and if you say fill it in, it's pretty clear that you basically that turtle will stay within the edges and fill that in cleanly. So you might want to watch out for that. This doesn't work so well. This approach does. And with that, hopefully that's enough to give you a start on this project. Good luck.